Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're talking about the power of helping our veterans. That's why we're honored to have with us Erica Shaw, Tennessee and Kentucky Regional Manager with NextOp Veterans. How are you doing?
Hello, Jeremy. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Let's start out with a thank you to you for your service to our country. We greatly appreciate our veterans and thank you for everything you've done and continue to do to help our veterans and protect our freedoms. And so let's start out. Give us a little bit of your background and then we'll dive into NextOp Veterans.
Okay. First off, thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate the platform. I am a child of Memphis. I was born and raised here in Memphis, Tennessee. I left right after high school and ran off to the Marine Corps. And I spent 11 and a half years there. I got to travel the world, do some really amazing things, meet some really phenomenal people. And it was truly, I would say, one of the best times of my life. If you've talked to anyone who served, they will always tell you, I won't trade it for anything. Life in the military, especially in the Marine Corps, is a little bit of everything. It's awesome and it's terrible. It's beautiful and tragic. It was really phenomenal. And the things that I learned there, things that I did there, allowed me to now move into the space that I'm in now to serve my fellow veterans.
When you look at the transition, so you go from serving our country, protecting our freedoms, you have, a lot of structure, leadership opportunities. You have all of these amazing experiences like you mentioned before, but then it's the transition into corporate, the transition into, the everyday life kind of back into integration. And so talk about what you experienced firsthand, and then let's really talk about what the veterans and our military service members experience as they transition, because I think that's the core challenge and the solution that you all solve and bring to the table, which is really important.
Absolutely, it is. So transition from military service to civilian life is one that if you have not done it, it's truly difficult to understand, because most people will look and say, well, it's just like changing jobs. It's just like, going from one place to another. And truly, it's not. My personal transition story was one that was very difficult, because if you look at military services now, there is a huge push to reintegrate them into the civilian world. I left the Marine Corps January 1st, 2008. That was my last day of active service. It was my New Year's gift to myself. And at that time, the transition process was 2 days. They taught us how to write a resume. They taught us how to search for jobs. And then it was like, okay, bye. And if you go back and you look at that time, you will see a very high rate of veteran suicide. You will see a very high rate of veteran homelessness, veteran unemployment, mental health concerns, veteran incarceration, because it is not a simple move of one place to another. You are talking about people, and I can speak for me, someone who joined as soon as they turned 18, left, when they were not even 30, almost 30. And you're looking at, okay, now what? Like now what do I do? Now you're putting this person into a world that they don't know, and the world doesn't know them. You're talking about someone who has been ingrained. There's so much ingrained in us every day on how we do things, how we handle things, how we talk, how we function. And to put us into this world that, I'm not going to say it's the opposite of what we've learned, but it's completely different. It's a shock, and it's a rough one. I remember distinctly my first job out of the Marine Corps, my nickname was the Crazy Marine Girl, which was rough. And people kind of said it as a joke, but it affected me. It had an awful and negative impact on me, because here I am thinking, well, this is just how things are done. But it wasn't done that way in the civilian world. There were people that were scared to work with me. And my story was one where it definitely had its challenges. I can look back on some of those things and laugh now, But for some, it wasn't funny. For some, it turned into not being able to bounce back. For some, it turned into, I can't function. I can't do this. So it is absolutely important to understand that the things that veterans go through when they're leaving the service it's not a simple fix. It's not just oh well, you'll be fine and you'll get over it. You have to understand the world that they come from and the things that we've been taught, and again, the things that have been ingrained in us from our first day in service until our last.
You and I talked at a recent Signature Speaker Series event, and I saw this firsthand with my brother, my younger brother, transitioning out of the Marines and what he went through to find a job and have an opportunity for success. And now he's on this, amazing leadership trajectory. But seeing all these, like, well, those acronyms don't apply to corporate. It's a different one. He's like, I can learn it. I can learn it really fast. And so there's a really interesting gap that exists on how do you basically take all the things that you learned, which were powerful, reframe it, and then set yourself up for success in the corporate world, which has the potential for amazing opportunity, but you have to be able to speak the lingo and know the game you play, right?
Absolutely.
So the game you're playing, then you can play to win. And so that, I think, is really what you're doing, is you're equipping them to know the rules of the game, to be able to play for success, and give them the leg up for opportunities to thrive. And so let's start diving in. When you talk about the work you do, give us an overview for NextOp Veterans, and then we'll dive into the programmatic side.
Absolutely. So NextOp Veterans is a 501c3 nonprofit. We started in 2015. Our 10th birthday is up. And our main thing is to recruit, develop, and place post 9/11 enlisted veterans. And we focus on that specific set of military personnel because a lot of time we find the officer corps, they have their own they have their own like people. They have their own connections already. What we focus on are those enlisted veterans who may not have the education that some of the officers may have. They may not have some of the connections or the education, to say, hey, this is what this looks like for you, as far as your resume, as far as getting, the information out in the way that you want to get it out. So we focus on them and we make sure that we make this process easier for them. We've all been in what I call the employment black hole, where you apply for something and you hear absolutely nothing back. And we want to eliminate that. I say we eliminate the employment black hole because what we do is after we recruit these veterans, we develop them. We talk to them about what they want to do. We talk to them about making sure their resume relay the message that they want to send. We talk to them about their skills. We help them be very realistic about, what they want to do. And if they don't have the skills or the education, how can we assist in upskilling them? How can we assist them in working with our resources to get them where they need to be? And then we place them. And so we make sure we open that door directly to the company. We have companies, we have veterans. We marry them up. So when a company says, hey, I have this position that needs to be filled, we look at our queue of veterans and say, okay, we have this person that matches that. We make sure they're polished and ready to go. And we say, hey, company, this is veteran. And so we really pride ourselves on creating that vacuum there where they know that there's a high level of success. And we're not just putting veterans in low paying, minimum wage careers and minimum wage jobs. And again, I'm not saying that's bad, but we're talking about, as you said, veterans with amazing skills, amazing knowledge, amazing abilities. So our whole goal is to help them find meaningful, well-paying careers in places where they can grow.
So you sit on both sides because for you covering Tennessee and Kentucky,
yes,
you've got the work with the veterans and the upskilling, the diving in, figuring out where they, their passions are and where their interests are. And you've got that side, but then also too, working with the employers, the corporate side.
Employers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you kind of sit on both sides. Talk about how it works.
Yeah, there's two sides to that. We talk about developing our veterans, which is absolutely important. Language, because we know that, military, we have a different way of speaking, especially in the Marine Corps. I can speak for that. So we talk to them about, now let's talk about what it looks like to say what you did in civilian speak. But also on the company side, it's a matter of evaluating them and helping them develop as well. Are the positions that you're posting, are your job descriptions casting out a whole sector of people? When we see job postings that say you must have so many years of service or so many years of this particular experience, the question is, okay, do they have to have 5 years? Or will you take someone that has 3 with some education? Or will you take someone that knows this level, but maybe it was 2, 4 years. We talk to them about what does your job descriptions look like? And we know that a lot of people will say, hey, I'm veteran friendly. But then we look and we say, well, okay, what do you have to ensure that your veterans can get to their doctor's appointments without being penalized? It's small things like that that sometimes aren't thought of that makes a big difference in a veteran's life. And so do you have any kind of, you have other veterans there where they can all meet up and say, hey, now we got some kind of support system. We look at so many different aspects on the company side as well as the veteran side, because it's about developing both sides. We want to ensure that we create the best outcome for the veteran and also for the company.
Talk about it from the corporate lens, because once again, back to what I experienced with my brother, he didn't necessarily know all the lingo, so he had to reframe like around the software that was used and things like that. But he's like, look, I can figure things out so much faster. And so within like 3 to 5 months, he was running circles around those that, supposedly knew their programs, because he took the time and the curiosity to really dive in and understand it and learn it. And then being able to lead people, which is a big part of obviously military service, is leading teams of people. And so I think then they saw, wow, okay, this guy has so much to offer, but it was eye-opening for them, eye-opening for him. Talk about it from the corporate lens of really the power of what veterans bring to the table, the intangibles that really do, when you look at change makers and leadership, having a veteran on the team affords you so many opportunities for success. So talk about it from that lens of what veterans bring to the table.
And so when we talk about veterans and what they offer, it is almost endless, because again, you're talking about leaders, and we're talking about people who have led in serious issues. I personally have been to Iraq twice. I was in charge of a whole team of people, get them there safely, bring them home safely. And I've done that. And when you talk about things like that, you're also talking about managing stress levels. And so one of the interviews I went on after my time in the service, they said, hey, talk to me about how you're going to manage stress in this position. And I kind of chuckled. I was like, I'm sorry, what's stress here? Because my thought of stress and your thought of stress are two totally different things. And he said, well, and it was for a university. He said, well, when students tell me deadlines or, when things happen, and I just kind of went, okay, can I tell you a story about my job in the military? And he's like, sure. And so I told him this thing, and, I got done. Everybody was wide-eyed and looking at me. And I'm like, that's my view of stress. And so when you're talking about getting someone who can make decisions in stressful situations, people who can handle ambiguity. The military is not a place always for just straight lines and it's black or white. We work in a big level of gray. We know how to do that. A lot of military people, you don't have to give them step 1, step 2, step 3, and do it exact, because, hey, this is what I'm looking for, go. And there are some that can do that. And of course, I'm not speaking for every single veteran, but you're talking about things like that. You're talking about people who understand how to prioritize things. We don't sacrifice the important for the urgent. And those are things that we're taught. We are taught how to really step in and make ourselves of value. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for someone who can come in, communicate well, lead well, get the job done, and then come back and say, well, hey, here's some things we can potentially do to improve. That's what you're looking for. And you're getting that and so much more out of veterans. We're talking about people who have been put in situations at young ages that most people haven't seen. By the time I was 20 years old, and I was in charge of male Marines who were way older than me, and I'm sitting there giving them a liberty brief, like, hey, don't go out there and drink, don't do anything stupid. And here I am, 20 years old. But that's the kind of leadership that we have. Those are the kind of responsibilities that we had at a young age. And so now you're talking to someone decades later, that's just ingrained. That's second, that's just how I function now.
Yeah, great insight. Carry that into, how can the community help NextOp Veterans?
So the community can help in a number of ways. So number one, if you're a veteran, register with NextOp Veterans. NextOp Vets, the work that we do is of absolutely no cost to the veteran. And we pride ourselves on that, not on the front end, not on the back end. Any not post 9/11 enlisted veteran can register with us and we can assist them. So that's number one. Number two, if you know a veteran and you know that they're looking for meaningful, well-paying careers, talk to them about us. Say, hey, go register. It's free. If you are a company or an organization and you have job positions that you want to fill with qualified veterans, reach out to us. We can talk to you about your hiring goals. We can talk to you about how we can help fill your rosters with qualified veterans that we have, again, from coast to coast. If you are open to giving to nonprofit organizations, we will accept your donations, whether it's a company donation, personal donation. We are absolutely open to that. And again, you can go to NextOp Vets for that, nextopvets.org.
Well, you never can say it enough in the world of media. So mention again, website, social media, any other contact information you want people to know.
So nextopvets.org. Our LinkedIn page, NextOp Veterans. You can go there and reach out to anyone that you need to. But when you go to nextopvets.org, there is someone that's going to contact you within 48 to 72 hours, whether you are a company or whether you're a veteran, to talk to you about what your needs are and how we can assist.
I love it. Well, Erica Shaw, Tennessee and Kentucky Regional Manager with NextOp Veterans, thank you for your service. Thank you for all you and your amazing team do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.